Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. In today's video, we are going to learn how we can create custom components using PowerApps Component Framework. So we'll start with overview and then we'll create one demo app and I'll create one custom component and have that deployed over our environment, PowerApps environment, and we'll try to use that. So let's start. So what is PowerApps Component Framework? So we'll just touch base on that. So PowerApps Component Framework actually empowers professional developers to create code components. So as we know, PowerApps is a low code solution. But sometimes we need to create some custom components, custom fields, which can be calling some APIs or do some customization with that. So using PCF, we can create those custom components. So these code components are rendered as a part of the same context as the other components gets loaded within the Power Apps. So it doesn't behave like HTML web resource. It's quite a different one, and it allows enabling of users of web API access and what kind of external API access we are doing with this custom components. Based on that, it will be decided that it work as a premium connector or premium with the premium license or with the normal license. So if you're calling the external services, so generally it's a premium one. So if we are just rendering or changing the UI of some default components, field components or dataset components, then probably it's a normal one. It would not require any premium licensing over there. So it actually enables us to have a structured component lifecycle where what is being done with the init part of code, and then in update view, whenever some property gets changed, the update view lifecycle or the method gets called. So that sort of a component lifecycle, we get to have this custom components, and creating these custom PCF components enable us to create our custom solutions and move them one environment to another environment very easily. So it's again one advantage. And it also supports the modern development practices, as for example, like users of TypeScript and open source technology kind of Node.js. So those stuff we can develop. We can do modern development practices with PCF. So it's just brief about it, and I'll talk about like tools, what tools we would require to create our first PowerApp component. And over here I've listed Node.js LTS version, that is long time support version. So just try to install the latest long time support version, which should be stable. So I think like as of now it's Node.js 16 version, which is LTS supported. And then we should be having Visual Studio Code. So Visual Studio Code, if you are already working with SharePoint or SharePoint framework, then you probably must be familiar with Visual Studio Codes. So it's an open source IDE. You can install it very well. And the third is Microsoft Power Platform CLI. So it's an important one. It will enable us to use the commands which is related to PCF. So you can install the CLI using MSI. So you can just Google that out, install Power Platform CLI, and you will get a MSI installer. You can directly install it, or you can just go to Visual Studio extension and you can try to find out the extensions from settings. Over here, extensions, you can type in Power Platform Tools. So this would enable you to use the Power Platform Tools. So it's already installed, so it must be showing me install, and I can uninstall it later on. So this one, you can install Power Platform extension, so it will automatically install the Power Platform CLI, and which enabled us to create custom component quickly with pre-scaffold files. So I can show you like what files actually it pre-created whenever we initiate our solution. So we'll go step by step. So, but at the overview level, we got index.ts, manifest XML, and manifest types. So I can just go to the demo to create a iFrame field. So what this custom iFrame field would be, so I can just go to my another site. So I can show you this. So this is my one of the sample app. You can see this is a PCF frame control. This control is actually the custom control which we built using Visual Studio CLI extension. So I'll show you in a while how to create that, but I'm just showing you that whenever I have this component inserted on my screen, So it asks for one of the property which I have set as a source URL. So this iFrame would start showing this source URL over here. So this component we are going to build, and prior to that, like, I'll just have your environment enabled to use this custom code components. So you have to, first of all, if you are using Power Canvas app, then you have to go to the admin center, and under admin center you have to enable the features which will allow using custom component in your Power Canvas app. In model driven app you can directly use it. There is no setting you have to do, but for Canvas apps you have to do this setting. So over here I can just directly go to my environments, and under my this XIMT environment, so it's a default environment, I've clicked on it. I get to see this setting, and under this setting I'll just expand this products. I have this feature. So once you click on this feature, and on the extreme right hand side, if you scroll down, you will see like PowerApps Component Framework for Canvas app. So you have to just enable this setting. By default it's disabled. So by enabling this, allowing publishing of Canvas app with code components. So once you do that, your code component would start appearing over here. For example, if I just go to this tab, so if you are familiar with making a Power app, you must be familiar with the components. If I click on this new component, it will just give a normal components without a code. But if I wish to use my custom component, I need to go to, and I need to click on this, right click on this one, and I need to click on the import component. You will start seeing this code tab over there, Canvas and code. So in this code tab you will see all your custom components, whatever you have built with PCF framework. So these are two controls which I have in this environment. So once I select it and import, it will start appearing over here in the components. So I'll import it. So you will see like I could see this component in my components list, and in this list, once I add this component in my screen, then it will start appearing like this, and I can set up the property, the source property for this, and it will start appearing over here. So let's start building this component only. So I'll create a PCF iFrame control where I would be just using one property to fill out the source URL, and once I specify this source URL, it will start displaying that into this iFrame. So I'll just go back to my PPT, and now you can see like to create a iFrame field. So I have specified few steps. So step number one is create a directory for PCF iFrame project. So we have to create a directory. So I just open my command line, and with this mkdir I'll just create one PCF iFrame directory, and I'll just move that into my PCF iFrame folder. And over here, because I need to open my code, Visual Studio Code, I'll just want type code space dot. So it will open this project into this Visual Studio. So now you can see I am under that folder, and now as in next step I'll be just going to the terminal. I'll just open a new terminal and circle back to my PPT. So to create any new component, we have to use this command. So in the command you can see PAC PCF init. It will initialize this namespace PCI frame. So this is my solutions name, and the name of control would be PCFI frame control, and template is field. So two type of template right now PCF support, that is field and dataset. So dataset means like if you wish to change any visual UI of table view, then you can have that dataset created, custom component for dataset created. And if you wish to just work with one field or column, then you can have this field component created. So I'm just copying this command and going to this terminal and just pasting it. So I'll just wait it to get this completed. So as soon as it's complete, you can see there are a few files already created. So one is index.ts, which contains the entire code, and the other is input XML, which contains the property of that control. So before moving that, I need to run the npm install command so that all the packages get installed. So I'll be installing npm install. So it will take a while. So the next step was npm installs. We just did that, and later on we'll be just refreshing the types. I'll just copy it. So let this npm finish. So my npm install is done. It installed all the required packages. Now I can just quickly refresh the types. So this manifest type TDS, you can see this is refreshing based on the property name, and the sample property is being specified in this manifest file. So we'll just look at that. Now the next step is implement the logic of iFrame. So now we will be starting doing actual coding, and before that I'll just walk you through this manifest file. So you can see, I'll just expand the window. So you can see I have this my control namespace PCF iFrame which we created, and the control name and the default name. These are property related to our this field. And besides this, you can see external service usage enabled false. So that means like it's not going to call any external web API, and if it says it's as true, that means like we wish to call the external domain APIs, and this will, once installing this, will be treated as a premium component, and that would require a premium license. So if we just keep it as false, then it's a normal component, not a premium one. The next thing is property name. So this is a main piece, what property name you would like to keep. So I can change this property name as well, so that I will say source property. So because I wish to specify the source for my iFrame, source URL for my iFrame, so I can just change that as source property, and I wish to keep that as single line of text, that's fine. And required true, yes, I would wish to have that as required. And this by default one you can just remove, so not required. And I just can go to resources. So under resources you can see I have this index TS, so it's a order number 1, it's an input, it's a starting point of our execution. And in the later piece we can have, if we used to have the multiple CSS file, then we can just have this pasted over here. We can specify the CSS file path and set that as order 2. So for now I'm just removing that because I don't need any CSS, it's just iFrame. And pretty much that's it, I think, like for this manifest. So nothing, because we are going to create simple iFrame control. So I wish I don't require anything else. And if I would require multiple properties, then I'll just keep adding to these properties. So one property of source property is going to work for me as of now. So I'll just keep it as is. And now I will refresh that types because I've changed the property name. So I just need to refresh it. And now you can see earlier it was source property, now it's refreshed and it took my property name automatically once I ran that command npm run refresh types. So now we are good to go to our index.ts file. So in this index.ts file is the main executor file which will be executed whenever component gets loaded with its context. So you can see like by default we have this init method and it's having the current component context, and along with that we can see that it's a container HTML. So these are two main pieces. So whatever we are going to create any HTML, we are going to bind or append that HTML to this container so that it can be rendered. So in init we are going to just initialize few values and control, and later on whenever the property gets updated, whenever we are typing some URL into source property, then this method is going to call. So we are going to do the actual iFrame source property binding over here in this method, so that like whenever the property gets updated, the iFrame source should also be updated. So we are going to do that code over here. And now you can see like we have this destroy method. So this destroy method is when we want to destroy the entire DOM, like after the control gets loaded. So it's by default. So whenever you would like wish to do some cleanup code, then you can just put that. It's a last method to be called. So let's start doing some coding over here, just simple creating HTML controls. So I'm just initiating few private variables, and that is iFrame. You can see it's a HTML type. Container is HTML div element, and this control view rendered is a boolean because I wish to use this while in the update view, because once in the initialize I'll just initialize that as false, and once the update view is called I will initialize that as true, set the value as true, so that it should not be called every time. It should not be doing the update of source property every time. So for that logic I'm just using this flag, nothing to be confused about. So in this init method I just set up this as container, this container which is there in the context, current context, as into this container, the variable, the object type we initiated over here, and initially we are setting up the value as control view rendered as false, and later on in update view, so whenever the property is being set, then this update view gets called automatically. So I just set up the variable as true because I don't wish to call this update view once again, and in the iframe I just created that document.create element as iframe and set the attribute. If you wish to have any classes defined or attached to this, then you can do that, otherwise you can just remove it. So for demo I am just ignoring that piece, like assigning any style, and in the later stuff you can just append this iframe control to the container, and the initialize only we took the container context and have that initialized to our container object. So you can see like I have just initiated this source URL, and in the context.parameter dot the property name, source property name dot raw will give me the URL which I am setting into this property, and this source URL I am again setting as in set attribute as source to this source URL. So that means I have set up my iframe source URL in this update view method. So whenever this property gets changed, it will just call this update view and reset it. So this is done. We have just coded this iframe with this sample property, and as a next step I am just going to build it. So I'll just type the command npm build. So it will build my project, and I can also type npm start so that I can see like how it looks like. It will open this component into a browser, and I could able to see the properties of this browser, how it behaves at a runtime. So you can see right now this value is blank, is saying my iframe cannot get value. So I can just I can just open any of the site, let's say Times of India, and I'll just use this site in this source property value, and I established that value. You can see it has started showing me this into iframe, and I can set up the width and height of this control. You can see this way we can set it up. So whatever site or some URLs you wish to add into the source property, it will start behaving. So it's opened up a local workbench where I can see like how my controls look like and what property it's binded with. So I can just do a quick test. So I'm good, like my source property is being set as an iframe source, so I'm good. I'm now okay to proceed to the next step, and I'll just go to my PPT just to check like what we have covered. So we have covered this creation of this logic for iframe. We have built our project, we have tested that project in npm start, and as a next step I'll create a solution folder to package it. So how to create a package? So like if we wish to move any Power Apps from one environment to another environment, we usually like export that as in solution zip, and then move that solution zip or the solutions to entire new environment, and that will give us a movement of those packages. So same way we are going to do that for PCF components. So you can see package our iframe component in solution zip. We'll use this command, and before that I have to create one folder within my code. So I'll just go to my code, and in this I'll just say that reveal in Explorer. So you can see I have this, and I'll just create one solution, and this folder I'll say PCF iframe, and I will have the solution inside this folder. I'll just use my PPT again, and you can see like PAC solution init, publisher name, CFLR, publisher name, prefix, CFL. So this means like the publisher name, whatever publisher name you would like to see on the custom component, it will be that one. So it has to be restricted within 8 character limit, I believe. And the same with this prefix, what would be prefixed in front of that control. So I'm just going to use this, and I'll just from command I'll just move to my this PCFI folder. So I'll just open this, open folder, and under this I'll just go to my PCF iFrame, and this is the solution folder we just created. So we'll just go inside that folder, select, it will open that into a new window, and from new terminal I'll just write the same command, solution command, paste. So it will create that solution for me. So you have seen like it's created a solution XML, customization, relationship, everything in that folder. So I need to specify the path, like which component I would like to have that included in this solution. So for that I need to just specify the PAC solution add reference path. So because it's just one level inside my folder, so I'll just directly paste this, that PAC solution add reference is this path, that is one folder above to my current, and post that I need to just do a MS build if I have already installed 2019. If you have installed separately as .NET SDK 5, then just do a .NET build. So this is the command if you have installed .NET SDK 5. So I'm just going to do that .NET build so that it can start creating my solution zip file. So I'll just say it's saying build succeeded. So let's see like if we have our solution file created or not. So I'm just going to bin, and inside bin debug folder we have this solution created. So I'll just reveal that into Explorer, and we are ready to use this solution to move into our PowerApps. So I'll just go to our PowerApps environment, and I'll just say make.powerapps.com. And because we are going to use this solution, so I'll just directly go to the solutions, and I'll just say import solution, and I will browse to this R file. So I'll just copy the path and paste over here, PCF iFrame, this is the solution, and when I say next, it will start importing the solution. And now you can see like the name of the solution is PCI frame, which we created, and publisher name, while creating that solution we specify publisher name, and by default it's because it's still under development environment, it's unmanaged. So till the time we move that to a production environment, it will be unmanaged only, so that we can update or do changes in future if required. So I'll just click on import, so it will start importing the solution. Yep, so solution PCI frame imported successfully. So now we can just try testing this into our any app. So I can just go to Canvas app, create a demo app, and just see whether I can see this PCF iFrame control or not. I'll just go to my this component screen. I'll just say import components under code. So it's still loading. So on refreshing, we can see like we got our control, that is PCF frame control, and I'll just import that. I can just go to this, click on this plus icon, and if I just go to my code components, and I could see that PCF control is there. If I just click on it, it will just add to that screen. If I just go to the screen, you can see right now it's showing just blank. We can just put any of the URL into this source property. So by default this property is selected. If I just put up this URL, and you can see it has started showing up this thing, and I can just set the position, height and width of this control, and as well as if you wish to do any styling, then you can have this styling in place. You can just put this attribute for class name, set attribute class name, PSFI framework style. So I just created one style. I can show you that it's iFrame control CSS, And in the CSS, we have to specify in this fashion that PCF, the frame control namespace, then control name, and the PCI frame, the class name which you would wish to specify. So this should be in this format. And when you have this in CSS, in the control manifest file, you have to specify this code path. So you can see we have specified this CSS path as CSS iframe control CSS and order number as 2, which should be loaded in second order. So that's how you can integrate the CSS with your custom control as well. So though in our demo code we did not do that, but you can have it in place. So that's how you can create your first PCF control in just 15-20 minutes and have that imported in your environment and work with. So I shown you the case with Canvas app. You can also have that in place with your model driven app, and I can show you that as well, like how to have that in model driven app, but I am just keeping that for as next video, so that I can show you that how you can have this PCF controls in your model driven app. So for now, that's it. If you have any questions, drop me a comment, and if you like the video, please do like and subscribe to the channel. Thank you.